maybe that works in Japan. Well, also I would go like maybe the universe is saying they're just supposed to work for there for 3 years and then go off somewhere else. And I said maybe. I didn't say that wasn't a fact. There's a lot of preachers that are have their flock following them so much that they're stuck going to church every Sunday or going every Wednesday and everything to not go and live God's work out. The kingdom of God is everywhere and live their God their life out there. So maybe it works in Japan because they're very focused and ordered within that community. One of the poo-poos on communism is a lot of people don't have the incentives to do more.
Yeah. So mhm.
I don't know if like having a job for life, people might get too comfortable and then not be able to take that company to the next level, and then that company might diminish.
Yeah, that's.
So
I mean, there's always
so
this backlash. Yeah, in France, for example, that's much more socialist than America. We have this. You can't be fired in France, so that is brings a lot of benefits, but it also brings a lot of inefficiency. It's just, yeah. We have a social market system, right? In Europe, we don't have a capitalistic system like in America. You have a turbo capitalistic system. In Europe, we have social markets, so they're a mix of socialism and capitalism. So our economies are a lot less inefficient compared to American economies. That's why America leads the way with companies, I think, is one of the reasons, because it's a turbo capitalistic system. So that's a drawback for Europe. They will always be number two, but on the other hand, they can feed their people, and their people are not bummers on the street. So I prefer that. Also, they have a more sane. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's drawbacks and advantages and disadvantages.
I mean, if you think of these as
Bumps.
these different cultures as these different cultures as different universes, it's and people can move in the world wherever they resonate with.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I remember I used to, for the longest time, because I played baseball in high school and college, and I remember getting in arguments with people about which sport was better.
Mm-hmm.
And I may still engage those arguments, but I'm not attached to it at all. It's fun to say golf isn't a sport to some golfers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun to have that conversation. But it's all that stuff just says is just so stupid to me. Because it's just like baseball was the perfect sport for me. It was past tense. And for me to argue with somebody that they feel football is a better sport
Yes,
or
but
soccer is a better
I
sport.
agree with you. But when it comes to people struggling with poverty, this is my limit. I'm not. I think this is an obvious thing. So like I think it's like what we talked about. There's always something good to everything, but you can't justify murder. So I think here we have one that is better. Like for me, there's one system here that is better, because you shouldn't let your you should never let your people, for the sake of a different system, just for maybe for better companies and so on. You should never let your people live on the street.
So I would go to the extreme of what percentage of that is, from their standpoint, is I was almost an accident. What percentage of that is those people are forced to be in that situation, and what percentages of it are they volunteering themselves to be in that situation?
It doesn't matter, because if they don't have that system, it won't happen to them. People are people. They're victims. They're sheep. You have to take care of them. When you're government, you have to take care of them. That's it. And
so I'm mostly playing the devil's advocate on this,
yeah.
but also I want to say that I'm not accepting this stuff and I don't feel we should have to accept this stuff. I think the world is like, I asked this guy that did
Where there's something I agree. Let me give you an example where I can tell you it's an example for where I agree with a devil's advocate argument. For example, in France, tips are covered inside the bill, right? So people don't give tips.
say that again. What's covered?
When you pay in a bar or when you pay in a restaurant, the tip is already included on the invoice, on the bill when you pay.
Okay.
Restaurant. It's I don't know how much percent, like maybe 10% or 15, I don't know. So you don't give tips. Maybe you give a little bit, but almost nothing. French people don't give tips. And in America, it's not included, and people give huge tips. So they get into this mode of generosity of giving tips. So that's a good thing. And Americans also, because they don't have a social system, they're the greatest, have the biggest charity organizations in the world. So you're absolutely right that there's always a balancing thing out, you know, but overall, when we think about how rich the states are and how much poverty there is on the street, it's just a scandal for me. I said it before in one of our shows, podcasts, whatever. And for me, being from Europe, having seen and lived in many European countries and having lived in America 4 years, for me, this is a combination of ignorance of Republicans thinking. And I'm not all against Republicans, you know, for example, I'm for the right to wear weapons, for example. But in this, most of the things, I'm not so much of a Republican, like I don't agree with them so much. And this is one of the things where I think they're always talking about, you know, the communists, and it's just a made up thing in their mind. It's not real. They've never been to Europe and to Russia and so on. And it was a political system that had nothing to do with the economic system. It was just Stalin and corrupt people at the top and things going wrong, but it had nothing to do with the social, at least, okay, maybe socialism, communism, yes, but not with social elements in a market. You know how Bernie Sanders is fighting for, like, I don't know, like, you know, basic rights for workers and all that stuff. And like people go crazy in America and they have no clue. They don't understand that it's totally working in other countries. Yeah, like for example, women getting babies, and then when they get a baby, they have leave, you know, not sick leave. They just can stay at home for 1 year. And all these laws that we have that are really protecting the family, protecting the sanity of the of society. And yeah, so I lived in both worlds. I have a clear answer to this. I'm not saying Europeans are better, but I'm definitely saying they have a better social economic system than the Americans, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, but then, you know, Americans have a better music.
I want to come from a place of, and I spent most of my life in America. So, yeah. So right? I mean, even though, like, trust me, I'm not happy about the system. So yes. I don't want to, and I complain, but then I come up with solutions for that in all the different markets that I'm doing things for. If we go into the shootings that are here in America that have been increasing, 85% of those the men that do the shootings don't have a father in the house, and I believe part of that is because the pressure that having a father in the house adds. So it's and I believe life is about pressure, masculine energy making things happen, and feminine energy letting things happen and finding the right balance for that. Because a culture is created, and kind of how this started, culture is created, and they have a lot of rules. So we have laws. We have the natural laws, and then we have man-made laws, and then we have rules. Rules are created because there's lots of doubts about the laws. So for instance, the 10 Commandments, I believe those are laws.
Mm-hmm.
the whole Bible, I believe those are rules.
Mm-hmm.
If we weren't so flawed as humans, the 10 Commandments would be enough. But based on doubt, they move towards answering more questions when the 10 Commandments are pretty fucking obvious.
I'm not so sure, but but this.
Thou shalt not kill.
I have too much time spent on this idea of 10 Commandments to understand your point, I guess,
Are they obvious?
Obvious, yeah, not 100% obvious, but like quite obvious, yeah.
I guess if you read into it, but what you're reading into it was based on a lot of doubt and creating a lot of rules around it, opposed to thou shalt not kill.
Yeah, there's always an exception to every law in the 10 Commandments. And, if all people were allowed to steal, then we would maybe live in a better world. Because then we wouldn't have possession, and then everybody would have what they need and just get what they need. Given that nobody would hoard stuff and keep people from.
I'm talking about the intent of the
intent. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
So I would have said, what I was challenging you on is like the 10 Commandments would not be enough, but love would be enough. The 10 Commandments are just there to show us that we can't do it. They're not there to help us to do it. Love is there, the energy to make us do it. Or yeah, correct.
And that's the. I've heard somebody talk about that one of the apostles or somebody asked Jesus, like, what's the one commandment? And then it's love all. That if you just say that one, and that's the only one that you need.
Is summarized in the prophets and I don't know the exact detail, but like if it's love your neighbor, as you said, love God and love your neighbor, basically.